Stop looking for outside answers. The world will not give you your breakthrough. All the validation, opportunity, and encouragement you seek are already buried inside you, waiting for your permission to surface. There is a hidden self within you, a second, greater self, who refuses to be caged by your past, your mistakes, or your present circumstances. This self is your only real ally on the journey to power and prosperity. Ignore it and you will wander, lost and weak, at the mercy of every doubt, every insult, every shadow that crosses your mind. Awaken it, and you become a force the world cannot restrain. Every man and woman who has achieved anything beyond the ordinary has done so by connecting with the other self, the self that stands up when the world expects you to stay down, the self that speaks vision when others only see obstacles, the self that knows with absolute certainty that victory is not just possible, but inevitable if you refuse to quit. It is not enough to read books or attend lectures. It is not enough to memorize principles or recite affirmations. None of these will change your life unless you bring your second self, the bold and unconquerable version of you, to the front of your mind and let it take command of your destiny. This is not a matter of faith or luck. It is a discipline, an act of will. You must silence the familiar voice of limitation, the one that tells you to be reasonable, to play small, to wait until you are ready. That voice is not your friend. It is a phantom built by fear and by the opinions of the masses. The other self, the self you must cultivate, laughs at limitations and uses them as fuel. It does not ask, "Can I?" but rather commands, "I will." There is a profound difference between living as your timid self and operating from the power of your other self. The world will try to talk you out of your greatness at every step. But remember, every leader, every millionaire, every world changer first became a leader, a millionaire, a world changer in the privacy of their own mind before the world ever saw a result. The first test is this: will you obey your ordinary self, or will you obey the other self that knows you are made for more? Every day, this battle rages in the mind. The small self makes excuses, delays action, and bows to comfort. The other self gets up early, works when tired, speaks the truth when it's easier to be silent, and commits to finishing what it starts. This is the self that sees setbacks as schoolmasters and criticism as a sign that you are moving in the right direction. Until you master this inner division, the world will toss you about like a leaf in the wind. You must make your other self the general of your life. Do not misunderstand. This is not about arrogance, but about authority, authority over yourself. The man who cannot command himself is unfit to command anything else. Success always begins as a private revolution. The world will call you crazy. Good. If they understood you, you would be average. The other self is the rebel within you, the part that sees beyond your circumstances and says, "Enough. It is time to rise." It is the source of all resilience, all creativity, all drive. It will drag you through defeat, poverty, heartbreak, and exhaustion until you arrive at the reward that weaker men never reach. If you ever feel like giving up, it is a sign you are operating from your small self. The other self is immune to discouragement. When you face a decision, pause and listen. Who is speaking? Is it the self that dreads discomfort, or the self that is hungry for conquest? The man who moves at the command of his other self will not waste years begging for chances or wallowing in regret. He makes his own chances. He turns rejection into determination. He is ruthless with his laziness, his self-pity, his weakness, because he knows every indulgence is an enemy of his mission. The world will tell you to be yourself. That is terrible advice. Be your other self, the one who is a creator, a conqueror, a builder of legacy. You cannot buy the other self. You cannot inherit it. You must awaken it. This is done by acting as if you already are the man or woman you intend to become. Start today. Do not wait for confidence. Confidence is the result of discipline and movement. Do the thing your timid self dreads. Make the call. Take the step. Face the fear. Refuse to betray your own vision, even if everyone laughs at your ambition. The second you act from the higher self, you will feel the surge of power and clarity that average people spend their whole lives envying but never understanding. Understand this. Most people are ruled by their first self. They never challenge the stories they inherited, the fears they absorbed, the boundaries the world handed to them. They wake, work, and die inside a prison of invisible walls. But a handful, those who answer the call of their other self, shatter the prison and walk into a life of significance, wealth, and legacy. They do not ask for guarantees or sympathy. They trade comfort for challenge. They accept that the price of greatness is solitude, misunderstanding, and the relentless commitment to a vision most cannot see. This is the path. There is no shortcut. Remember, the other self is not found in books or seminars. It is not revealed in meditation or unlocked by motivation. It is summoned every time you reject the pull of your lower nature and take a step forward, especially when you feel least ready. The more you obey your other self, the stronger it grows. The weaker self fades with every decision made in defiance of fear. The world will sense this new energy in you. It will draw new allies, new opportunities, new resources to your side. People will say you have changed. They are right, you have. You have become the version of yourself that wins, regardless of obstacles. If you want results, stop negotiating with your weakness. Stop explaining your hesitation. The man who has found his other self does not consult the crowd before he acts. He trusts the instinct, the fire, the call inside. He moves before he feels ready. He knows that the world bends to those who move with authority, not those who ask for permission. The other self is your passport out of mediocrity and into the world of those who get things done. Every problem you face, every setback, every moment of doubt is an invitation to step into your greater self. Do not avoid them. Use them. Welcome discomfort. Embrace challenge. Defy the urge to run back to safety. It is only in the crucible of pressure that your other self emerges fully formed. Trust this process. The rewards are not for the tentative or the timid. They belong to those who have the courage to say, I will find a way, or I will make one. No matter how loud the voice of fear becomes, let your higher self shout louder. One day, you will look back and see that every leap you took into the unknown was guided by the part of you that knew you would land. Never forget, every day is a new vote for which self will run your life. Cast your vote with action. Build the discipline. Cultivate the courage. Listen only to the voice that tells you what you can become, not what you have been. This is the key to wealth, to achievement, to freedom. When you meet resistance, recognize it as the signpost that your other self is taking the lead. Most will fall back. You will move forward. And in that difference lies the whole of destiny. You have always known there was something more inside you. Stop waiting for someone else to see it. Claim it now. Make a promise to yourself and keep it, no matter what. The world gives way to the one who believes in himself enough to act like a winner before the world acknowledges his victory. Your other self is not waiting for you to be ready. It is waiting for you to start. Begin today. Move now. Refuse to back down. Your life is your responsibility. Your vision is your command. That other self, the one who knows you will win, has been waiting long enough. Open the door, step through, and never look back. The greatest tragedy is not defeat. It is never knowing the full force of your own potential because you allowed your timid self to dominate. You must realize that every minute you hesitate, postpone, or second-guess your dreams, you are allowing the wrong self to write your story. This is not just about missing opportunities. It is about missing the creation of the person you were born to be. There is no external enemy as cunning, as persistent, or as deadly as the voice inside you that whispers, not yet, not you, not possible. To break free, you must consciously and consistently shift your allegiance. The process begins with self-awareness, but it does not end there. You must observe your thinking, catch yourself when you shrink from a challenge, and immediately confront that hesitation. The mind is like a garden. Left unattended, it fills with weeds. The other self is the diligent gardener. It uproots the old beliefs, starves the habits that keep you small, and sows the seeds of conviction and possibility. This is why most people stay stuck. They notice their limiting beliefs, but they never rip them out by the root. To summon the other self, you must practice radical honesty with yourself. Stop pretending you do not know what you really want. Admit to yourself the size of your vision, the scale of your desires, the power of your calling. Speak it out loud, even if your voice trembles. The other self grows stronger every time you dare to declare what your lesser self insists is impossible. It is not pride to admit you want more. It is spiritual courage. The world is filled with people who bury their ambitions under layers of false humility and social conditioning. They die with their music still in them, having never given themselves permission to become what they might have been. Refuse this fate. Look in the mirror, see the future in your eyes, and decide today that you will no longer betray it. Your other self is not sentimental. It is ruthless about progress. It will ask you to cut ties with excuses, distractions, and even with people who feed your weakness. Many will call this selfish. Let them. The pursuit of greatness is always misunderstood by those who have settled for comfort. The other self does not apologize for demanding excellence. It knows that every compromise is a step away from destiny. You must become comfortable with standing alone, walking alone, and even failing alone if you wish to own a life others only dream about. Solitude is not loneliness. It is the forge in which the steel of your will is tempered. When you look around and see that no one believes in your vision, know that it is your other self being tested. It wants to know, will you keep going or will you retreat? The universe rewards only those who persist beyond visible support. The daily battle is won or lost in your private choices. Do you choose discomfort over ease? Do you move toward the hard conversation, the unfamiliar skill, the intimidating goal, or do you default to what you already know? Every single time you push past resistance, your other self is reinforced. You become bolder, clearer, more unstoppable. The world senses this energy in you. Opportunities, partnerships, and even adversaries appear, all serving the refinement of your purpose. The timid self seeks approval and fears judgment. The other self is indifferent to the opinions of the crowd. It operates by its own internal compass, guided not by fleeting emotions, but by a vision of who you must become. Success, real success, does not come from hustle alone. The man who works the hardest but serves the wrong self will always sabotage his own progress. You must work with purpose, with intention, with a burning inner conviction that is rooted in your second self. This is why two people can start at the same place, with the same resources and end in vastly different realities. One allowed the world to set the limits, the other refused. The gap between average and extraordinary is nothing more than this internal allegiance. If you are willing to side with your higher self, every adversity will shape you, every setback will sharpen you, every no will become fuel for your inevitable yes. Commit to the discipline of decision. Indecision is poison. Every day you hesitate, you give power to your weaker self. Decide who you are. Decide what you want. Decide that nothing will stop you from becoming it. The other self does not negotiate with fear. It acts and lets the world adjust. You may not always know the exact path, but the act of moving, of committing, of refusing to turn back will cause the path to appear. Most people want certainty before they move. Winners move and find certainty along the way. You will be tested. You will face moments of exhaustion, of doubt, of loneliness so intense you question your sanity. These are the moments your other self has been waiting for. It is not forged in victory, but in the crucible of challenge. When you are tempted to quit, to compromise, to lower your standards, remember that this is your chance to break the chains of the timid self forever. Each time you hold the line, your other self grows in power until it becomes the dominant force in your life. The old you will fade, its voice growing faint, its influence dissolving with every act of discipline and courage. The world has no power to deny you if you refuse to deny yourself. This is not a theory, it is a law, as real as gravity. You can read all the books, attend all the seminars, recite all the affirmations, but until you obey your other self in action, nothing changes. Action is the only proof of belief. Do not wait for motivation. Motivation is a consequence of movement, not a prerequisite. Start, and your energy will catch fire. Commit, and resources will appear. Persist, and even your enemies will become unwitting allies, sharpening you, fueling your ascent. You are not alone in this fight, even if you walk the path alone. Every titan, every legend, every trailblazer who changed the world did so by tapping into the same hidden power within. They faced ridicule, isolation, and crushing setbacks, but they did not surrender to the first self. They pressed on, demanded more of themselves, refused to let the vision inside them wither for lack of courage. You are cut from the same cloth. The world does not need another imitator. It needs the original, unapologetic, unconquerable self that you have kept hidden for too long. The time to choose is now. Every day that passes is a vote for either your weaker self or your greater self. Life will not wait for you to feel ready. The doors of destiny swing open for those who knock without hesitation, who walk through before anyone gives them permission. The universe bends for the bold. Make your stand. Decide to become the man or woman who cannot be ignored, who cannot be stopped, who cannot be explained except by the presence of that mysterious, powerful, unstoppable other self. This is your invitation, your challenge, your wake-up call. Take it. Do not make the mistake of believing that the transformation into your other self is a single, thunderous event. It is a series of daily decisions made in the quiet of your own mind, where no one sees and no one applauds. The world celebrates outcomes, but destiny is determined in the shadows. Each morning when you wake, you are confronted by the same two voices, one urging comfort, caution, conformity, the other summoning you to battle, demanding you stretch beyond yesterday's limits. The vast majority surrender before their feet touch the ground, not realizing that the first words, the first thoughts, the first actions of the day are the blueprints for all that follows. If you want to change your destiny, you must seize these moments and claim the day for your greater self before the world lays its demands upon you. This is not about positive thinking. It is about mental command. The timid self uses mantras as an escape, repeating hollow phrases it does not believe in order to mask a lack of action. The other self uses words as weapons, every sentence loaded with intent, each affirmation a declaration of war on old limitations. When you speak, speak to command. Say, I will. Say, it is done. Remove the weak language of I hope, I wish, maybe one day. You do not motivate yourself by tricking your mind. You move your destiny by taking control of it. When you hear yourself begin to complain or make excuses, stop and correct course immediately. The mind quickly learns who is in charge, the self that gives orders or the self that submits to them. To truly find and strengthen your other self, you must develop the habit of emotional mastery. Most people are at the mercy of their moods and impulses, blown about by the winds of circumstance, victims of every slight and every piece of bad news. This is slavery to the first self. The other self remains calm in storms, anchored to a purpose greater than momentary feeling. When anger, frustration, or fear arise, do not react. Step back. Ask yourself, which self is in control right now? Discipline is the edge. Refuse to act until you have reclaimed command. Mastery is not the absence of emotion, but the refusal to be ruled by it. The cultivation of the other self is not achieved in comfort. It is forged in the fires of challenge. Every difficulty you face is an opportunity to practice. When adversity comes, do not whine or seek sympathy. Instead, greet it as a proving ground for your new identity. Say to yourself, this is the test. This is the moment I choose. Those who win in life are not those who avoid struggle, but those who outlast it. The timid self will always look for a way out. The other self will look for a way through. Stand firm. Breathe deeply. Remind yourself, if I shrink now, I surrender the future to my lesser self. Your rituals are your strongest weapons. Design your days around victory, not survival. Rise early. Move your body with intensity. Set aside time for ruthless self-examination and recalibration. Review your goals every morning and night, not as wishes, but as commands to your subconscious. Visualize yourself as already possessing the qualities you desire. Refuse to end the day until you have completed at least one act, however small, that was chosen by your greater self, not by fear or fatigue. Every tiny victory counts because they stack, and soon enough you will have built a foundation of proof too powerful for doubt to destroy. You must develop what I call the iron no. The world is filled with temptations designed to seduce you back to mediocrity, distractions, negative company, urgent but unimportant tasks, mindless entertainment. Most men sabotage themselves not by open rebellion, but by slow leaks. They lose hours, days, years to trivia, and only realize too late what they have sacrificed. The other self knows how to say no with finality and without apology. Guard your time and energy with the same ferocity you would defend your fortune. Refuse entry to anything or anyone that does not serve your highest purpose. Every time you honor your commitment to yourself, you are making a deposit in the bank of self-trust. Self-doubt is not the result of failure. It is the result of repeated broken promises. To find your other self, you must become a person whose word means everything, especially to yourself. Do not make promises you do not intend to keep. When you set a goal, pursue it with obsession. If you fall short, do not make excuses, analyze, adjust, and attack again. Let your failures instruct, not define you. The other self does not waste time in regret. It extracts the lesson and moves forward with greater clarity and conviction. Understand that your environment either feeds your greater self or starves it. Surround yourself with men and women who are ruthless about their own growth. Seek out conversations that challenge your thinking, not just reinforce your comfort. Read obsessively, but do not become a collector of information. Be a practitioner of wisdom. Every insight must be translated into action. Discuss your plans with those who will call you higher, not those who will drag you back to earth. Protect your vision from the small minds who see only limitations. They speak from the timid self. Do not let their words infiltrate your mind. Let your standards become your sanctuary. Most people are content to live by the minimums. They do just enough to get by, to avoid criticism, to maintain the illusion of progress. The other self is relentless in pursuit of mastery. It demands the best from you, not because the world is watching, but because you are. Elevate your standards in everything. How you think, how you speak, how you work, how you treat others, how you treat yourself. If you hold yourself to the highest standard in the smallest things, you will soon find that excellence is no longer an effort, but a habit. Success gravitates to those who cannot accept less. You must learn to celebrate progress, no matter how incremental. The timid self despairs at the distance yet to travel. The other self draws energy from every step forward. Record your wins. Keep a journal of battles fought and overcome. At the end of each week, review your victories, however small, and let them fortify your spirit for the road ahead. Success is not a single leap. It is 1,000 acts of courage and persistence compounded over time. The more you witness your own progress, the more your belief will grow until faith in your other self is unshakable. Patience is power. The world is addicted to speed and noise, but your transformation demands endurance. Do not expect miracles overnight. The other self is built over months and years of quiet, relentless effort. Trust the compound effect. What feels impossible today will become routine tomorrow if you refuse to quit. When you become frustrated with slow progress, remember, you are not competing with others. You are competing with your old self. Every day that you refuse to retreat is a victory. Every day that you choose discipline over comfort, growth over stagnation, vision over fear, you are winning a battle most never even fight. In the end, the other self is not a mystery. It is the truest version of who you are, the self that acts from purpose, not panic, from belief, not limitation, from vision, not circumstance. This self cannot be given to you by books, teachers, or even by me. It must be chosen every single day until it becomes your default way of being. When you finally look back and see how far you have come, you will realize the greatest reward is not what you have achieved, but who you have become in the process. That is the real victory. That is the legacy of every man or woman who dares to find and live from the other self that knows. Deep down, you will win. The world you see is a mirror reflecting the self you project. You cannot command fate if you continue to broadcast uncertainty, mediocrity, and self-doubt through your words, posture, and intentions. The man who walks with his head down, whose handshake is weak, whose words are timid, is advertising defeat and inviting life to respond in kind. The man who steps forward with certainty, even before the victory is in hand, forces the universe to adjust itself to his new vibration. You must become relentless in how you hold yourself, think of yourself, and speak to yourself, because your identity, not your intentions, is what determines what you attract. You have already learned that the timid self cannot win, not because it is cursed, but because it is always seeking proof before it commits, seeking comfort before it acts, seeking guarantees before it invests itself fully. The other self knows that every gain demands an advance of faith. The world is not waiting to give you permission. The moment you act with unshakable intention, the world takes notice and doors begin to open that were invisible to the hesitant. Action is the universal language of belief. Every step you take in the direction of your vision, especially when you feel least ready, signals to your subconscious that you are becoming the kind of person who deserves victory. The more you act, the more you believe. The more you believe, the more you act. This is the spiral of momentum that will pull you from the ranks of the ordinary. It is no accident that men and women who have mastered their other self seem almost supernatural to those around them. They are not merely disciplined, they are possessed by their mission. Their routines are sacred. They do not rely on motivation, which is fleeting. They rely on the power of a personal code. Decide now that you will not negotiate with your lesser self. There is no debate, no bargaining with old excuses or moods. What you command, you do. That is the price. Every time you keep your own word, especially when it would be easier not to, you reinforce the steel of your will. In time, you become immune to distraction, criticism, and the small emergencies that pull ordinary people off course. Your environment is your forge, and you must shape it with as much intention as you shape your thoughts. Eliminate clutter, noise, and all sources of mental and emotional pollution. Do not underestimate how powerfully your surroundings shape your thinking. Place reminders of your vision everywhere. A written goal on your desk, a daily checklist, a schedule that is non-negotiable. Associate only with those who reinforce your standards. Limit contact with complainers, doubters, and those who feed your old identity. There is no neutrality. Every relationship, every conversation, every piece of information you consume is either feeding your other self or starving it. Make your circle your fortress. Sharpen each other. Challenge each other. Hold each other accountable. Greatness is never achieved alone, but it is always chosen alone. In your quiet hours, engage in the most valuable activity a man can practice. Reflection. Sit with yourself, free from distraction, and ask the most difficult questions. Where did I act from fear today? Where did I allow my old self to steer the ship? Where did I shrink from discomfort, settle for less, or tell myself a lie? Ruthless self-honesty is not self-criticism. It is the scalpel that removes weakness from your character. Most people are so afraid to confront their own shortcomings that they remain slaves to them. You, on the other hand, must see self-reflection as your advantage. When you see where you faltered, do not wallow in regret. Plan the correction. Every evening, decide on one small action you will take tomorrow to move closer to the person you intend to become. Progress is built in these micro-adjustments. When setbacks come, and they will, you must refuse to let them question your new identity. The timid self interprets every failure as evidence of personal inadequacy. The other self sees it as part of the process. You are not a failure because you stumble. You only fail if you refuse to rise. The difference between those who ultimately win and those who vanish into obscurity is that the winners make use of every loss. They do not avoid pain, they mine it for wisdom. They do not run from difficulty, they extract the lesson. Adopt this mindset and you will become unbreakable. Pain is not your enemy, it is your instructor. The most subtle but most powerful shift you must make is from I hope to, I expect. The world gives to those who demand, not those who beg. Speak your desires as if they are non-negotiable. Set deadlines and standards that make you uncomfortable. Demand from yourself more than the world would ever require. If your vision does not intimidate you, it is not large enough. The other self lives in the territory beyond what is reasonable. It sets goals that force you to expand, and it refuses to accept less. Ordinary men are limited by the size of their dreams. Extraordinary men are defined by the size of their standards. Refuse the poison of comparison. You are not here to compete with the man next to you. You are here to conquer the only opponent that matters, the old version of yourself. Every time you compare your journey to someone else's, you give away your power. The other self understands that true competition is internal. You are measured by the distance traveled from your former self, not by the distance remaining to your ideal. This mindset is freedom, because it transforms every day into a new opportunity to win, regardless of circumstances or external validation. Master your routines. The average man lives by accident, hoping that discipline will arrive with inspiration. You must build discipline into the fabric of your day until it is easier to act in your own best interest than not. Wake up with intention. Move your body. Control your inputs. Feed your mind before the world has a chance to infect it. Set aside time for quiet thought, focused work, and rigorous review. Protect your evenings. Guard your sleep. Let every hour of your day reflect your allegiance to your greater self. If you stumble, do not delay. Return to the path at once. Consistency, not perfection, is the foundation of greatness. There will come moments, usually when you are tired, discouraged, or alone, when the old self tries to seize control again. It will whisper, "You have done enough. You deserve a break. Why bother? It doesn't matter." Recognize these voices for what they are. The dying breaths of an identity that has no power except what you give it. Do not negotiate with weakness. Double down on your standards. When you are tempted to quit, take one more step. When you want to hide, show up twice as bold. Your will is a muscle. The more you exercise it, the less room you leave for doubt. Most of all, never lose sight of the why behind your transformation. The other self is not about pride or vanity. It is about stewardship, the full development of the potential you have been entrusted with. Every day you choose to shrink, to play small, or to betray your own standards, you rob not only yourself, but everyone whose life could have been elevated by your example, your achievement, your service. The world does not need more average men. It needs more men who have become what they were meant to be, who radiate certainty, who lift others by the sheer force of their presence. The work you do on yourself is the greatest gift you can give to the world. There will be days of doubt, confusion, and even despair. This is not a sign that you are off course. It is a sign that you are on the front lines of change. The other self is not handed to you as a reward. It is earned through conflict and tested in darkness. When no one is watching, when no applause is coming, when progress is invisible, these are the hours that matter most. Persist. Remember, history only remembers those who refuse to turn back, no matter how tempting it was to do so. The day will come, sooner than you imagine, when you will act from your greater self, not by force, but by nature. The new identity will feel as familiar as breathing. The results you used to chase will begin to chase you. You will attract people, opportunities, and resources that once seemed out of reach because you have finally become the kind of person who can receive them. The world bends to the man who refuses to bend to his fears. Your other self is not a fantasy. It is the only version of you worthy of your life's work. If you are still reading these words, you have already separated yourself from the multitude who seek comfort more than conquest, who crave distraction more than destiny. You have glimpsed a truth that cannot be unseen, that within you lives a greater self, a force not yet fully awakened, yet as real as the air in your lungs and the blood in your veins. Now you must be ruthless about one thing, refusing to ever betray this vision for fleeting comfort or empty approval. The time for wavering is over. You must establish a rule over your own mind as ironclad as any king's decree. Your thoughts are your subjects. Your emotions are your servants. Your habits are your soldiers. Weak men live as slaves to every mood and impulse. Men who win train themselves to act from principle, not from feeling. You cannot afford to surrender your throne for a single day. The greatest mistake of the average man is that he waits for motivation, inspiration, or the right circumstance. The winner manufactures his own drive. If he wakes up empty, he creates purpose. If he feels weak, he practices strength. If he meets with defeat, he takes from it the lesson and throws the rest aside. Begin by scrutinizing the invisible contracts you have signed with mediocrity. How many times have you lowered your standards to fit the crowd, to be accepted, to avoid discomfort? Tear up those contracts now. You do not belong to the crowd. Your loyalty is to your higher self and the future you are building. Decide this hour that you will live by a private code more demanding than anything the world will ever require of you. Your self-respect will multiply with each day that you keep this covenant. Others will sense it, even if they do not understand it. They will either be drawn to your fire or repelled by it. Either way, your course remains unaltered. Your mission is to systematize your growth so thoroughly that progress becomes a habit, not an accident. Relying on inspiration is for amateurs. Professionals set standards, establish rituals, and measure themselves with brutal honesty. Do you have a written plan for your days, your weeks, your months? Do you review it? Do you correct yourself with the cold eye of a judge and the fierce encouragement of a coach? If not, begin now. The mind is a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows stronger only under discipline. Build a daily practice of reviewing your results. Where did you act in accordance with your higher self? Where did you fall short? Adjust without self-pity. Self-compassion is only useful when it leads to renewed effort, not to coddling weakness. Surround yourself with symbols of your new identity. Let your environment become a gallery of reminders. Affirmations written in your own hand, books that sharpen your perspective, objects that represent achievement. Every sight and sound around you should reinforce your purpose. Do not tolerate the ordinary. Get rid of clutter, both physical and mental. Limit your exposure to news, gossip, and the opinions of small-minded people. Fill your mind with information that lifts your vision, with stories of those who refuse to settle, with lessons from giants who turned setbacks into stepping stones. Do not underestimate the power of association. People are contagious. Your energy, your attitude, your self-image will either rise or fall to the level of those you spend the most time with. Audit your circle. Who makes you reach higher? Who reminds you of your greatness? Who tempts you back into the old patterns of doubt and defeat? Cut ties where you must. It is better to walk alone in pursuit of greatness than to crawl in the company of the comfortable. Seek out the ambitious, the disciplined, the men and women who have made excellence a non-negotiable. You do not need many allies. One true friend committed to the journey is worth more than 1,000 spectators. The practice of self-command is incomplete without the willingness to embrace difficulty. Most will shrink from adversity, wishing for a life of smooth waters and gentle breezes. But the man who finds his other self relishes the storms. He knows that every trial is an invitation to rise. When the day brings setbacks, projects that fail, deals that fall through, criticism that stings, welcome them. Meet resistance with resolve. Train yourself to respond to discomfort with action, to challenge with creativity, to criticism with composure. The world bows not to the man who escapes pain, but to the one who transforms it into fuel. Understand that your other self is not waiting for perfect conditions. There is no future moment where you will suddenly become ready. There is only now and the commitment you bring to it. Each time you act despite fear, despite doubt, despite tiredness, you carve a deeper channel for greatness in your nervous system. Your brain will begin to expect excellence from itself. Your body will align its energy to your commands. Over time, discipline becomes your default state, and mediocrity feels unnatural, even painful. Build rituals around your mornings and evenings. The start and end of your day are the launch pad and landing strip for your destiny. Rise before the world demands you. Begin with silence, gratitude, and clarity. Review your goals. Set your intentions. Move your body. Prime your mind with uplifting reading or deep reflection. Then, go to war with your to-do list. Attack your priorities before distractions can dilute your focus. At night, return to the silence. Measure your progress. Forgive your failures, but do not forget their lessons. Plan your adjustments. Then, let your mind rest, confident that you have given the day your all. Every so often, audit your vision. Are your dreams large enough to demand your very best? Are your standards rising, or have you settled for good enough? The world will never push you higher than you push yourself. Refuse to live the same year over and over. Upgrade your goals, your knowledge, your circle, your routines. When you catch yourself coasting, shake yourself awake. Comfort is the enemy of destiny. You did not come this far to plateau. If you ever find yourself doubting, pause and remember. The fact that you can imagine a greater self means that greater self already exists within you. It is not an invention, it is a calling. The frustration you feel, the restlessness, the dissatisfaction with the status quo, these are signals from the other self demanding to be unleashed. Do not silence these urges. Channel them into relentless forward motion. Beware the temptation of external validation. The world will applaud you for being average, for fitting in, for staying small. Ignore it. You are not here for applause. You are here for results. Measure your progress in the currency of achievement, not approval. Let your work speak for itself. Let your discipline announce your intentions. Let your results become the proof. One of the most powerful weapons you possess is the ability to direct your focus. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Refuse to waste time and emotion on the opinions, politics, and problems of others. Pour your concentration into the handful of priorities that move you toward your vision. Become so consumed by your mission that distractions lose all their power. Those who master their attention master their fate. Keep a journal. The act of writing clarifies thought, exposes patterns, and strengthens memory. Use your journal to record victories, insights, and corrections. Track your routines. Set new challenges. Reflect honestly. Over time, your journal becomes the story of your transformation, the evidence that the other self was not a myth, but a daily practice. Review it often, especially on days of doubt. Never forget the law of compounding effort. Progress does not come in a straight line. It comes in waves, often invisible at first, then all at once. Trust the process. Most people quit 3 feet from gold. You must outlast the dip, the plateau, the frustration that comes before the breakthrough. Persistence is the lever that moves mountains. Decide that you will remain in the fight as long as it takes, for as long as it takes. The world cannot resist the man who refuses to surrender. Above all, become the architect of your own legend. Live each day with the awareness that you are writing the only story that will ever matter, the one you tell yourself. Build that story with intention, discipline, and pride. The world will take its cue from you. When you act like a man destined to win, life will adjust itself to your expectations. Stay alert, stay hungry, and above all, stay loyal to the other self within you. There is more in you than you can possibly imagine, and every day you act with conviction, you move closer to becoming the man you were meant to be. This is your calling. Answer it. Every man is confronted at some point with a choice that shapes the rest of his days. Whether to remain in the prison of his past identity, or to break out and take possession of the larger self that always beckons him forward. That other self is not a luxury reserved for the few. It is the birthright of anyone ruthless enough to pursue it, patient enough to cultivate it, and wise enough to trust it. Now, if you truly intend to rise, you must stop waiting for permission. You must act as if your transformation is not just probable, but inevitable, because that belief is the only key that opens the final lock on your potential. There will always be voices, both within and without, that tell you to slow down, to play safe, to be realistic. Ignore them. The world has never been changed by men who played it safe. Instead, become the kind of man who frightens small minds and inspires kindred spirits. Your vision is not a suggestion, it is an order. Your standards are not open for negotiation. The other self inside you is not just an idea to be entertained on good days, but a general commanding you to rise even when the weight of your doubts threatens to crush you. To sustain this level of growth, you must develop an intimacy with challenge. Most people run from discomfort. They see adversity as a problem to avoid. You, however, will make adversity your classroom. When a setback comes, and it will, ask, what is this here to teach me? Every defeat brings with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit, but only if you are willing to look for it. Pain is information. Discomfort is guidance. Use it all. In time, you will come to see the world as it really is. A series of tests designed to strip away weakness and reveal the man beneath. Discipline must become your religion, not the dry discipline of the ascetic or the joyless, but the living, breathing discipline of a man in love with his own power. Get up when you say you will. Do what you promised, even if nobody is watching. Take pride in the details, the small invisible habits, the hundreds of choices that make up a single day. A man who keeps his word to himself is a man the world cannot break. Each act of discipline strengthens the other self until you look in the mirror and cannot find a trace of the former doubter who lived in fear. Ruthlessly eliminate excuses. You will never become the man you could be as long as you are defending the man you have been. Excuses are chains. Every time you make one, you bind yourself tighter to mediocrity. Cut them away, one by one, until you are left with nothing but responsibility. When you take full ownership of your results, you regain the only freedom that matters, the freedom to change. Build your environment to serve your ambition. It is not enough to discipline your mind. You must discipline your surroundings. Make your space a sanctuary for your goals. Remove distractions. Surround yourself with reminders of what matters. Seek out those who elevate you. Let your life be a fortress for your vision, impenetrable to the assaults of negativity and doubt. Guard your energy. You have only so much to give each day. Invest it where it multiplies, in your health, your mind, your mission, your relationships with people who believe in your ascent. Don't squander your fire on arguments, gossip, or trivial pursuits. Your other self thrives on focus and intensity. Burn with purpose, not with anxiety or impatience. Action is your greatest weapon. No amount of planning or visualization will replace the lessons learned in the arena. Move forward, especially when you don't feel ready. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Your future self will be shaped by the steps you take today, not the intentions you nurture in private. Each small victory is proof that you are becoming who you must be. Do not expect anyone to understand your path. Your vision was given to you, not to them. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Their opinions are irrelevant. What matters is the voice of the other self that whispers, "Go further." Cultivate an indifference to praise and criticism alike. You are here to conquer yourself, not to impress the world. Learn to use failure as fuel. When you stumble, do not waste time on regret or self-pity. The winners of history are not those who avoided defeat, but those who used it to sharpen their edge. Review your losses for their lessons, then erase them from your mind. Fix your attention on the next step and the next until momentum is unstoppable. Master the art of persistence. Most people surrender at the first sign of resistance. That is why their lives are ordinary. Your destiny is different. Make a contract with yourself that you will not quit, not today, not tomorrow, not ever, until you reach the summit you have chosen. Make persistence so much a part of your character that giving up feels impossible. Keep your vision close. Review it every day. Make it vivid, specific, and emotional. Let it fill your imagination with energy so potent that it seeps into your posture, your words, your daily actions. Write it out. Speak it aloud. Let it become the drumbeat of your life. When distractions come, and they always do, your vision will pull you back to your purpose. Celebrate your progress. Too many people measure how far they have to go and forget how far they've come. Each milestone, no matter how small, is evidence that your other self is now steering the ship. Honor your wins. Use them to build momentum, but never let satisfaction breed complacency. The moment you rest on your laurels is the moment you begin to slip backward. Sharpen your instincts. The other self is not just logical, it is deeply intuitive. Learn to listen to your gut. When something feels wrong, investigate it. When an opportunity excites you, pursue it. Over time, your inner compass will become more accurate, guiding you through decisions both large and small. Trust it, but verify it with action. Invest in your mind as relentlessly as you invest in your ambition. Read voraciously. Seek out new ideas, new mentors, new perspectives. The man who stops learning is the man who begins to decay. Growth is not a season. It is a way of life. Feed your intellect daily, just as you feed your body. The other self flourishes in an environment of continual learning. Practice solitude. The noise of the world can drown out the voice of your higher self. Take time each day to be alone with your thoughts. Reflect, plan, meditate. Let your mind settle. In the silence, you will hear the guidance that cannot be found in crowds or chats. Solitude is not loneliness. It is communion with the deepest part of yourself. Give back. The man who rises must lift others as he climbs. Share what you learn. Inspire those still trapped in their lesser selves. The other self is generous, not out of obligation, but out of abundance. When you help another man find his power, you reinforce your own. Success is multiplied, not divided, by service. Live with urgency. Time is your most precious resource. You do not know how many days you have left to become the man you were born to be. Act now. Speak your truth now. Build your legacy now. The future belongs to those who seize the present with both hands. Let gratitude anchor you. No matter how driven you are, take a moment each day to appreciate the gift of this journey. Gratitude turns adversity into opportunity, failure into feedback, and ordinary days into chapters of greatness. It reminds you that the pursuit itself is the reward. In the end, all transformation is a battle for control of your mind, your habits, your story. The other self is both your greatest ally and your ultimate challenge. Nurture it, fight for it, become it. Refuse to settle for a life half lived. You are here to break boundaries, to set new standards, to prove once and for all that destiny is not decided by fate but forged by will. Never forget, there is a part of you that cannot be defeated, cannot be discouraged, cannot be denied. The world is waiting to see what happens when you finally give that self the throne. Rise now and keep rising until the only thing greater than your ambition is the reality you have built with your own hands. You were not born to be average. You were born to become unstoppable. Act accordingly.